No one can keep a secret forever. Brent and Renee Poole are a young married couple who can barely keep their hands off each other.
I gathered they started having sex right when they were in high school. They were in love with each other.
But sex and secrets can be a recipe for disaster.
Look at me!
Every time you turn around, there's something new, another secret. It's hard to keep track of who's who and what they're up to.
And when desire runs wild, it leads to unspeakable obsession and murder.
The things that a man will do for a good woman are innumerable. The things that a man will do for a bad woman can be horrific.
If that's what needs to be done, I'll do it for us.
The interesting thing about this case, it wasn't a love triangle or even a love square. This was a love octagon.
Soon, every dirty little secret will be revealed. It's 1998 in the resort town of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Brent Poole and his wife Renee are getting ready to celebrate their 3rd anniversary.
They apparently started dating when she was 14, and he was 15 or 16 at the time. So they had a long-time relationship. They were sweethearts.
Brent is a hard-working mechanic who comes from a working-class family.
Brent was really the all-American kid. Very good-looking guy, had a lot of friends, seemed to really enjoy what he was doing.
While Brent's at work, Renee's focus is on the family.
She was a stay-at-home mom initially after their daughter, Katie, was born. She often was there in her house, raising and caring for her daughter and doing housework, keep typical American housewife. She flowered into a pretty, beautiful young woman, by all accounts.
They bought a little house, looked like they were kind of on their way to the American dream.
On June 9th, 1998, the Pooles decide to celebrate their anniversary with a romantic moonlit walk.
They walked along the beach hand in hand, eyes gazed at one another, looking for a little place to get amorous into the sand.
Renee tells Brent that she wants to go out in the sand dunes and make love. She's they're gonna have this kind of romantic experience. That sounded like a great plan. He was having a great time.
But in a flash, the young couple's night of romance is shattered. Around midnight, local police respond to a call about gunshots and screaming. They arrive to find Brent Poole shot to death, and Renee in shock.
The area where he was shot, it was covered with blood. He was covered with blood. Pretty gruesome scene.
Police calm Renee down and ask her to tell them what happened.
I don't remember. He had a mask.
They were approached by a man wearing a ski mask and all black clothing. He had a handgun.
He demanded that they give him the contents of their pockets, their money, jewelry.
Give me all your money. Do whatever you want, whatever you want. Hurry up! Hurry up!
Renee says they did as they were told and handed over all their valuables. But the man turned his gun on Brent anyway.
Brent had actually begged for his life. Please don't kill me, please don't kill me.
Please have a daughter at home that loves me.
And then he killed Brent.
Please don't kill me.
Renee tells police the man then tried to kill her too.
He pulled the trigger, it clicked, but the bullet didn't discharge, so nothing happened.
When his gun jammed, the killer fled, leaving Brent dead and Renee shell-shocked.
This is a total nightmare. She's watched her husband shot in cold blood in the middle of a robbery. Where does her life go from here?
Police ask Renee for a description of the gunman. But because he was masked, she can't deliver many details.
It all happened really quick.
Average height, average weight, dressed in all dark clothing with a ski mask. So that was a very difficult suspect description to go on.
Police immediately interview other potential eyewitnesses on the beach, hoping they'll be able to get a solid description of the shooter.
The robber was wearing all black in early June on a warm night in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. He would have stood out to people. He would have been odd looking.
Witnesses say they've seen a man dressed in black, but their descriptions don't add up.
It's rather hard to tell. I don't know.
They found one witness that said he appeared to be a tall, black male. Another person said, no, he was a big Caucasian guy.
Several people saw somebody dressed in black, but some people saw someone tall, short, the hair is different. All these eyewitnesses' accounts sort of contradict one another.
It wasn't like somebody said, oh, I saw the suspect and he ran down the street and this is what he looked like. We had no such type of description.
And to make matters worse, the crime scene itself yields few clues.
They found several spent shell casings. They found a live round that it was pretty obvious that the gun had jammed. But other than Brent's body, that was what was out there.
Investigators don't know what to make of this seemingly random crime.
The fact that someone was murdered on the beach is absolutely unheard of.
That's a popular tourist spot. If they had a lot of murders down there, it wouldn't be a popular tourist spot.
As police search the beach for clues, they discover something that makes this case even stranger.
As they scour the crime scene, not far from where Brent was murdered, they find his wallet.
And they're surprised to find Brent's cash and credit cards are still inside. And that's not all the robber abandoned.
One of the things the robber left behind were the wedding rings. Makes you wonder, what was the point of this holdup in the first place?
That's the strangest robbery I've ever heard of. When people actually drop the loot, that's not natural.
Why would a robber dump the cash and jewels he killed for? Police begin to wonder if there's more to this case than meets the eye.
Look, if the robber didn't want the money, there has to be something else going on here.
This random act of violence doesn't seem so random after all.
But if the Pooles were targeted for murder, what's the motive? Who stood to gain if Brent and Renee were taken out?
Everybody's a person of interest at the onset of a murder investigation. Who are their friends? Who are their co-workers? Are they having any issues? Are they having family problems? Are they having money problems? You take everything into account.
Renee can't think of anyone who would want to kill her and her husband.
I just don't know who would want to do this. I don't know who could possibly want him dead.
She's just a stay-at-home mom, and by all accounts, Brent lives his life as straight as an arrow.
They were a very happy couple, and they seemed like they were madly in love with each other. She had no idea who actually did it.
But when police notify Brent's parents of their son's death, his father makes a surprising revelation. His son's life wasn't as picture-perfect as it seemed.
My son was miserable.
If you can't satisfy my needs,
He tells police that Brent and Renee have a secret, and it may be one worth killing for.
This was a bad marriage.
From the outside, they look to be pretty normal. What secrets could they possibly be hiding that could be deadly?
A secret sex tape puts police on the trail of a potential killer.
calm down. You're being obsessive.
Especially in a case like this, when it's oozing with sex, jealousy can be a powerful motivator for violence.
I can give you everything you want.
Renee Poole says she watched helplessly as a masked man gunned down her husband Brent on their anniversary. she'd be dead too if the gun hadn't jammed. Investigators are confounded. Why would someone want this respectable husband and father dead? His own parents may know the answer.
When contact was made with Brent's parents, law enforcement learned things about the relationship between Brent and Renee, which Renee hadn't shared.
Brent's father tells detectives that the loving, blissful facade his son and Renee presented in public was a lie.
Renee told us everything was fine.
You could not be more wrong.
From the outside, it looked like everything was great, that they were happy.
Look at me! You are pathetic!
But all was not what it seemed. Brett's father tells police, you know what? This couple had more problems than you realize. Specifically, he said, Renee was not the happy-go-lucky housewife she portrayed herself to be.
Brent's father says his son and Renee had been on the verge of divorce.
I want a divorce.
And the reason why, he reveals, is the couple's most closely guarded secret. Just weeks earlier, Renee was in the throes of a passionate affair.
Apparently, Renee had an insatiable sexual appetite that needed to be fed by other men. Brent's father tells police a month before the murder, Renee had actually moved out of the marital home and moved in with another man.
Brent's father says the man responsible for breaking up his son's marriage is named John Boyd Frazier. And he suspects Frazier is behind Brent's murder.
Right from the beginning, the Poole family told us that we need to seriously look at an affair that she was having with John Frazier.
Could the sparks Renee ignited in John Frazier's bed be the reason her husband is now dead?
Affairs could be very dangerous. They could be the dirtiest little secrets of all because you're sneaking around. You don't want people to know about it. There's a lot at risk for both people involved.
Detectives confront Renee with her in-laws' accusations about the affair. She admits that she and Brent had been having issues.
We've had some problems lately, but I wanted my marriage to work.
It's true, she says, that she slept with John Frazier, and even stayed with him when she briefly split from Brent.
When things got really bad, I moved in with John.
He was working long hours to help pay some bills. She was home, feeling neglected because he wasn't there. She felt abandoned and she just wanted attention. He gave her the attention that Brent Poole did not give her.
But Renee says the affair is over.
We were sleeping together, but it was just a fling. It's over now.
She recently broke it off to give her marriage a second chance.
Brent Poole promised to do better by her, that we would pay more attention to her, and so she moved back in.
Renee tells police their anniversary sex on the beach was the rekindling of their romance. She loved Brent and wanted to work things out. And she says she told John Frazier as much.
She said that was over and done with and was behind him. It wasn't any big deal.
Renee, baby, I love you. Okay, I love you with all my heart, and I want to be with you and only you.
It was just sex, okay? I don't know why you're so obsessed with this.
I need you to be all mine. I can't share you anymore.
You need to stop.
Police wonder if John Frazier desperately wanted a future with Renee. Could jealousy have driven him to murder?
When a couple splits, sometimes it's over for one person, but not really over for the other person. And that's where the trouble begins. Jealousy can be a powerful motivator for violence.
Detectives bring Frazier in for questioning. He could be a potential match for the vague eyewitness descriptions of the killer. He says his sexcapades with Renee were much more than just a fling.
This was not just a casual thing. I wasn't just some guy. There was love. I mean, she was perfect.
And he's insistent they're meant to be together, even though she temporarily went back to her husband.
She was gonna leave her husband, and I was gonna wait.
This was to be a long-term relationship in John Fraser's mind. It wasn't just a, hey, let's hang out for the weekend, and they were planning a life together.
He really enjoyed and sort of relished the attention that Renee gave him. I think that provided him with excitement that he certainly would not have had in his normal existence.
But he assures investigators that he was willing to wait for Renee to come back on her own terms. He certainly wouldn't kill for her.
He says he's innocent, and he says at the time of the robbery, he was miles away.
John, the night in question, were you at the beach?
No, I was homesick.
Well, his alibi was that he'd taken the day off work and was sick.
He was alone, so there's no way to confirm his alibi. But without any physical evidence placing him at the murder scene, police don't have a legitimate reason to hold him any longer.
Although it's a pretty bad alibi because nobody can confirm it but himself. Because of the lack of evidence, authorities put it on the back burner.
We had very little to go on John Fraser other than the suspicion that it could be him.
But Brent's parents are far from throwing in the towel. If detectives don't think Fraser did it, they can provide other suspects.
But there is somebody else you need to think about.
Because John Fraser, they say, wasn't Renee's only affair. She was also sleeping with a co-worker named Danny.
John Fraser would have sexual relations with Renee. Danny would also have sexual relations with Renee in the same night.
John Fraser and
Brent's mother says Danny soon became obsessed with having Renee all to himself.
co-worker. He was obsessed with her.
He continually begged Renee to please leave Brent. He showered her with gifts and presents, anything to try to get her away from Brent.
But she says the philandering isn't her daughter-in-law's most scandalous secret. Renee made a sex tape with Danny, and to the family's horror, it went public. The most shocking scene of the raunchy video was its ending. It showed Danny proposing to Renee.
Will you marry me?
Even though she was already married to Brent.
Yes.
So the question cops had is, did she marry him? Was she leading a double life? Did she have two husbands?
Could sweet, sexy Renee secretly be married to two different men? And if so, was Danny so obsessed with her that he followed her to the beach that night, intent on being her only husband?
She's really playing a dangerous game. Could this be why Brent was killed?
Maybe she was leading a double life, and the second husband wanted to off the first one so he could have her all to himself.
The naked truth comes out, and Renee takes it all off.
Every time you turn around, there's something new. Another man, another secret. Who knows how deep this goes?
Police investigating the murder of Brent Poole have discovered his wife, Renee, has had 2 affairs, made 1 sex tape, and may even have had more than 1 husband.
On the sex tape, we see her accept a marriage proposal while she's already married.
Yes.
Could she be living a double life? Could she be married to someone else at the same time?
It seems Renee Poole has been living 2 different lives with 3 different men. But if sex tape Danny was determined to be the only man in Renee's life,
I can't give you what I can give you. He couldn't give you a tenth of what I could give you.
maybe he insisted she choose between them. And if she refused,
I'm not gonna give up my entire life just to be with you.
I'm sick of you playing games with me, all right?
I'm married.
could he have killed his rival to force her hand?
You don't want to do this. What was your involvement with Mrs. Poole?
Well, we were sleeping together. When police interviewed Danny, he admitted to having a prior sexual relationship with Renee, but said that he was finished with Renee, that relationship had dissolved.
Danny says they broke up, but not because Renee refused to divorce Brent.
I was, comfortable with whatever their situation was.
Renee being married didn't bother him, but finding out she was also sleeping with John Fraser did.
Danny caught wind of the affair with John Fraser, and I still remember to his day his exact words were that he did not mind being in a love triangle, but a love square was just not for him, so he broke off the relationship.
I knew she was married and everything, but that started to get a little crowded for me, so I decided to tap out.
Can you tell me, when's the last time you saw her?
It's been quite a while.
Danny tells police Renee Poole is just a distant memory. Plus, he has a new love in his life.
Danny advised them that he was happily married. He wasn't having any problems with his wife, didn't have any interest whatsoever in Renee anymore.
I'm a lot happier now.
And provided police with a Loctite alibi on where he was.
Police have uncovered 2 suspects in Brent Poole's murder, but don't have convincing evidence against either one. But who's to say there aren't more suspects notched on Renee's bedpost?
You have to wonder exactly how far did this go? She had an affair with John. She had an affair with the guy on the sex tape. Who knows who else she's been with? I mean, she's juggling men and she's running out of hands.
Investigators begin digging into Renee's life, hunting for more suspects.
Is anybody else aware of this?
And she leads them directly to another whopper of a secret she's been keeping. But this one's not in some guy's bedroom. This time, Renee's getting naked in public as a stripper.
Renee wanted the American dream, and she kind of liked that Norman Rockwell picket fence lifestyle. But on the other side, she liked wildlife. She liked to run around, she liked to party, she liked to play with the boys. So she was a stay-at-home mom some, but she had gotten a job as an exotic dancer on the other side. Absolutely a double life.
Investigators are speechless.
She made herself out to be this doting housewife and mother, but it turns out she had a whole lot more dirty little secrets out there that these investigators were beginning to slowly uncover.
Detectives had wondered if there were other suspects with a motive to murder Brent Poole. And now they're worried they may have a whole strip club full of them.
We visited the establishment she worked at, and were able to talk to fellow dancers, other staff at the Gentlemen's Club. You want to make sure you don't miss anything.
No, I mean, everybody loved Renee. Every time a guy came in, they always were all eyes on her.
Renee's co-workers say she's a popular girl with lots of enthusiastic fans.
Renee had a very mystique look about her, eyes that drawed you in, also lips. A very attractive girl.
She had regular customers that liked to come in and see her. There's no question about that. She had her admirers, definitely.
Could one of these admirers have taken their infatuation too far?
Investigators had to consider that one of these patrons was so in love with her and so fixated with her that it might have provided a motive for that person to kill her husband.
For the right guy, that is motivation enough. If he is obsessed with a stripper and there's another man in her life, he may want to eliminate that obstacle.
Were there any clients who may have been obsessed with her?
I don't know if I would say obsessed. No, I wouldn't go that far. No.
The girls at the club can't single out a likely culprit. As far as the girls know, Renee isn't sleeping with any of her clientele. But investigators want to hear it from Renee. Is there another lover from the club who might want Brent out of the way? She tells police it's not what they think.
I thought it would save our marriage.
She never wanted to be a stripper. She only did it to make Brent happy because her husband had a dirty little secret of his own. Brent Poole is addicted to internet pornography.
Initially, Renee Poole and Brent Poole was having sex all the time. But then something changed after she gave birth to her child. He seemed less interested. He got involved with internet pornography and they started having problems.
Renee says Brent started spending all his free time surfing X-rated websites and having cyber sex in chat rooms.
Am I not good enough for you? You're watching that 24/7.
All she ever wanted from her husband was his attention and affection.
Why don't you want me?
And so she took a drastic step to try to make Brent notice her again.
Renee has to feel humiliated that her husband would rather be with a computer screen than be intimate with her. It's enough to make her want to do desperate things to get his attention back.
Investigators want to know how Brent took the news that his wife had become a stripper. Was his reaction the reason he's now dead?
Could he have come by the club? Could he have run into one of these regulars? Somebody who was obsessed with Renee? There are a lot of guys that all of a sudden might have seen Brent as an obstacle to their sexual obsession with Renee.
Did your husband know you worked at the strip club?
Investigators put the question to Renee, but her answer reveals a secret about her dead husband that's even more scandalous than her stripping.
From the outside, Brent is a pretty straight arrow. Behind closed doors, they had a lot of dirty little secrets.
The interesting thing about this case, it wasn't a love triangle or even a love square. This was a love octagon.
Detectives investigating Brent Poole's murder are shocked to discover he wasn't nearly as wholesome as he appeared to be. And they're doubly shocked to hear from his wife, Renee, that Brent had no problem with her new career as a stripper.
Brent liked it. He thought it spiced up our relationship.
Brent actually kind of liked the idea that she was a stripper. He would even help her pick out some of her skimpy outfits. She'd wear them around the house, maybe teasing him a little bit. It was a real turn-on for Brent.
After months of neglect in their bedroom, suddenly, Brent was giving Renee the sexual attention she desperately craved.
Brent liked the fact that other men thought his wife was attractive because he thought he was the guy that was going home with her at the end of the night.
But Renee confesses that stripping wasn't her only secret. She didn't always come home from the club alone.
Renee says that eventually she wasn't enough for Brent.
Brent suggested that we start bringing other people into the relationship.
He wanted her to bring home other strippers and have three-ways.
Renee was indiscriminate in terms of her sexual taste. She was known to have had affairs with women. There were no bounds for Renee in that regard.
But Renee says that she wouldn't let Brent participate in the sex with her co-workers. And eventually, even watching her lesbian flings wasn't enough to hold Brent's interest. Bored with his wife, he returned to his internet porn. Desperate for affection, Renee quickly found other ways to satisfy her own sexual needs.
She had sexual affairs with at least 6 or 7 men during her days at that strip club. Renee Poole was sleeping with customers.
She was tired of losing Brent's attention, tired of losing out to cyber sex. Renee is sexy. She knows it. She is a good stripper. She loves the attention, she loves the money, and she loves the men that are around.
We know you slept with clients.
But it was all casual anyway.
Renee tells detectives that it was all just casual sex, nothing serious enough to warrant killing over, but investigators wonder if she's telling the truth. They turn up the heat on the girls from the club looking for leads and learn that Renee hasn't just been sleeping with customers.
She kind of had a little thing going with the bartender.
It seems Renee found a steady bedroom buddy behind the bar as well. Could this barkeep be the masked gunman? Police seek him out at the club for questioning.
I wasn't even really that into her. We had a fling.
But he swears his thing with Renee was just a roll in the hay.
He had had a lengthy sexual relationship with her, but he was no longer interested in her, and he also had a good alibi for the night that Brent had been killed.
Well, she did have this one guy.
But he tells detectives that while he wasn't obsessed with Renee, he does know of one regular customer who is.
His name is John.
When they ask the name of this regular customer, cops realize this is somebody that they've spoken to earlier in the investigation. It's John Fraser.
He comes in every single night.
The bartender says that he was always there when she was dancing.
I mean, he came in every night, was dropping hundreds and hundreds of dollars, probably for like months on end.
Definitely appeared to be obsessed with her.
And the bartender says John Fraser was livid when Renee Poole finally dumped him.
It's her husband, and he's ruining my life.
As a regular customer, John became friends with this bartender, and the bartender knew him well enough to know that John was furious that Renee had gone back to her husband.
The bartender also tells detectives that Fraser is a bit of a gun nut.
John Fraser fancied himself as this, dangerous man who knew how to handle guns and all that sort of stuff. I think he wanted to look kind of like a tough guy.
The bartender believes John Fraser's rage over being dumped drove him to murder Brent Poole. And he says he has proof.
Emergency. He started sending me these emails.
He and John Fraser have become good enough friends that they occasionally email back and forth. And one of Fraser's recent emails about Brent is particularly chilling.
He said, someone ought to kill that SOB, and maybe I'll kill that SOB.
This is a damning email, and police now really believe John did it. They have to find some way to get the evidence they need that will put John away.
John Fraser is now the prime suspect in Brent Poole's murder. But police still have no evidence putting him at the scene. They bring Fraser back in and grill him.
I was sick. I was throwing up. I told you that.
But he sticks to his story.
I don't know what you want me to say. That's all. That's all I got for you.
Investigators can't break him. Even without any substantial evidence, detectives are now convinced John Fraser pulled the trigger. But something else about that night troubles them. If Frazier is the gunman, how could Renee not have recognized the voice of her former lover, even if he was wearing a mask?
Shut up. Give me all your money. Give me all your money. Hurry up.
Detectives press her for more information, but she insists John Frazier would never resort to murder to win her back.
I don't know why this happened, and I don't know who would want him dead.
She thought that Brent Poole was safe, that John Boyd Frazier would never actually kill her husband.
But detectives aren't buying it.
It's clear that she knows more. She's just not told the truth. It was quite obvious.
But is Renee Poole really just trying to keep her lover from going to jail? Or does she have another reason for her silence? The final secret to be revealed is the biggest one of all.
There's a possibility that you may lose your child.
Not all secrets do see the light of day, but the big ones, the bad ones, often do.
Detectives on the Brent Poole murder case believe they've uncovered his wife Renee's most shocking secrets. But is she protecting the man they suspect killed her husband because she was sleeping with him? Or is she somehow involved in the crime?
The problem with that is the only two people that know are Renee Poole and John Boyd Frazier.
Investigators wonder, could Renee Poole be the mastermind behind her own husband's murder? And why would she want her husband dead? Friends from the strip club may know the answer. They reveal to police that not long before the Poole's deadly anniversary, Renee had consulted with a divorce lawyer.
She was looking for a ticket out of the mundane lifestyle that she felt like she had with Brent. She was planning to leave and she was going to get a divorce, and that was going to be it.
But it only took one meeting for the lawyer to burst Renee's bubble.
If you decide to move forward with this, there's a possibility that you may lose your child.
That lawyer told her, you're not in great shape in terms of custody with the child. Haven't behaved in a fashion that, the courts are really going to love you.
Your work history.
What, me being a stripper?
Yes.
Legally, there are a lot of things working against Renee in family court. She doesn't have a stable job as a stripper. She hasn't tried to work it out with Brent. It's very likely that if she leaves her husband, she's going to lose her daughter.
The revelation must have been devastating.
A court of law is not going to see this as a good profession to be in to raise your child.
I can't lose my daughter one way or another. I need him out of my life.
Renee only started stripping to try to make her husband happy. And in the end, it's going to cost her her daughter if she leaves him. Perhaps it was too much for Renee to handle.
She didn't want to lose the custody of her daughter. If they got a divorce, all her background about being an exotic dancer would come out. I think that scared her more than anything else.
Police wonder, could she have manipulated her lover, John Frazier, into killing her husband for her?
Would you do anything for me?
Yeah, you know that. Of course.
Anything?
Anything.
I need you to kill him.
But why would Frazier go along with it? What would he get out of the deal? Detectives follow Brent Poole's money, and it leads them to something almost as hot as a smoking gun.
Brent had a $100,000 life insurance policy, and if he were to die, Renee would be the beneficiary. This is also a powerful motive. Renee has already got one foot out the door in this marriage. You add on $100,000 for her pocket, well, she's ready to run.
If Renee simply divorced Brent, she would likely lose custody of her daughter. But if she killed him, she would keep her daughter and make a nice profit in the process. And investigators suspect she used the prospect of splitting the $100,000 to lure John Fraser into doing her dirty work for her.
I don't have any question but that the mastermind of this murder, start to finish, was solely in Renee's hands. I think she saw an opportunity in a man infatuated, and she used that as she used many of the men in her life. I think that's what happened to John.
Detectives arrest Renee and confront her with their theory.
This policy right here, made out to your husband, naming you as the beneficiary for $100,000. What happened on the beach that night?
The shamed stripper realizes she's trapped and finally admits that she and her lover planned the whole thing.
I finally got rid of him.
Having sex with her husband on the beach was just a way to lure him to an isolated area where John Fraser was waiting to kill him.
Everything was, to the minute, was orchestrated by Renee.
Could do like a picnic or something.
Picnic, that's great.
Which you'd think for an anniversary that Brent would have taken more of a role in organizing the events, but Renee handled it start to finish. Renee talked him into going on a walk, and they had sex in the dunes just before they were confronted by John Boyd Fraser. That was done clearly at Renee's urging.
I had John there waiting, and he shot him. He took care of it for me.
Stop. Why are you talking?
She positively said it was John Fraser that was on the beach that night and that had shot Brent.
That jammed bullet was never meant for Renee.
Renee admits that she and John conspired to do this crime. In the end, it would mean that Renee could leave the marriage, that John could have the woman that he loved, and that they would both have $100,000 to start their new life with. To them, it seemed like the perfect solution.
John Fraser is convicted of murder, conspiracy, and armed robbery, and sentenced to 30 years behind bars. Renee Poole is convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole.
Where's the life lesson in this? You need to be careful who you fall in love with, because there are people like Renee Poole out there. She's a black widow. She had no problem in having sex with her husband and walking him to death. No problem at all.
All Renee Poole ever wanted was to be desired. But once she got the taste of the spotlight, her insatiable need for attention turned her into a cold-blooded killer.